Riding for rent. Marx's take on Uber's underpaid drivers. Imagine clocking in your day as a rideshare driver. The Uber app pings a new fare, and you're off steering your own car into traffic on the city street. Legally, you're an independent contractor, free to choose shifts. In reality, you're selling labor just like any factory worker, one ride at a time. In Marx's words, you become part of a class of laborers who must sell themselves piecemeal. Each trip is a piece of your labor power sold to capital. You pay for your car, gas and insurance, yet the platform claims a big cut of every fare. The extra value you generate on that trip, surplus value, what Marx called the profit beyond your earnings, ends up in the hands of Uber's owners and investors. You clock 4 hours driving, but many of those minutes are unpaid leisure, time desperately spent looking for the next ping every waiting minute. You absorb these costs. Meanwhile, the company's software algorithms set your wage per trip. As one Marxist study notes, platform companies earn their profit regardless of the costs of creating and maintaining their platform, meaning you shoulder all the operating costs of your car, while Uber pockets. Indeed, Fontes 2017 observes that digital gig firms push a point of ignoring workers' living conditions. Every ounce of depreciation, maintenance and fuel is paid out of your pay, while the app extracts roughly 20–25% of each fare as its fee. Marx recognized this pattern in 19th century Piecework under gig pay. It is naturally in the personal interest of the worker that he should strain his labor power as intensely as possible, which lets the capitalist intensify exploitation even more. Uber and DoorDash drivers do exactly that, hustling extra hours and trips simply to earn basic subsistence surplus value on the road. Karl Marx's core insight was that in every wage job, the capitalist extracts surplus value. The worker's labor produces more value than they receive in wages. In ride-hailing, this shows up stark. Each ride's fare, what the passenger pays, far exceeds the net earnings that trickle down to the driver after expenses and platform fees. A recent Berkeley study found drivers in several US cities earned in some cases less than half the local minimum wage. That gap goes straight to Uber's profit margin or investor returns. Put another way, every mile you drive adds value to the capitalist system, but your wage per mile doesn't keep up. You pay for the means of production, your car, phone, data plan, yet Uber's booking system and brand, its digital means of production, are owned by investors. Marx predicted this absurd division in gig work. The automobile as a means of production is owned by the worker, while the company takes a cut of your labor. The result is a modern surplus value machine. Your toil and vehicle generate far more revenue than your take-home pay, and the platform captures the difference. Drivers pay the costs. Every repair, fuel fill-up, and insurance premium comes out of your earnings. Platforms take the cut. Uber, Lyft skim 20–30% off each trip. On top of that, you fund your own replacements and upkeep. Surplus to capital. The venture capitalists and tech owners get the profits. As Fontes notes, these apps rely on big speculative funds seeking to turn money into value extraction processes. The platform as capital. Digital platforms present themselves as just tech mediators. Uber and Deliveroo don't own a fleet of cars or bikes, workers do. But the platform does control the labor process. It owns the matching algorithm and the customer base, concentrates the property rights, and acts as a technological boss. As Fontes 2017 explains, platforms have full control of the process by combining their digital means. These concentrated property forms enable what Fontes calls the capture of surplus value. Marx knew that this was just a new spin on an old scheme. He argued that piecework, gig-like pay, was a hierarchically organized system of exploitation and oppression. In Uber's model, all supervision is impersonal and algorithmic. You download the app, swipe to start your shift, and the system automatically dispatches customers and meters your trip. The quality and intensity of the work is controlled by the very form of the wage in practice. The moment your star rating dips, the platform can quietly block you from work, a far subtler and often nameless form of discipline. From a capitalist point of view, this is gold. The company's costs, aside from software maintenance, hardly budge, even if thousands more trips are booked. In Marxist terms, the platform firm is a highly capitalized rentier. Drivers expand, push harder, and any time available is time to profit for the owners. Piketty's analysis would add that the big winners are those owning the capital: Uber's shareholders and executives. Precarity, benefits, and the freedom myth. Gig work is synonymous with precarious. Nothing that a traditional job provides. The platforms bill this as flexibility. But Marx described exactly this situation centuries ago. A reserve army of laborers living day to day who sell their labor in bits. The Economic Policy Institute finds that 29% of gig workers earn below the state minimum wage after expenses. 1 in 5 drivers even go hungry because their earnings are so low. Independent contractor status means you own all the risks. If your car breaks down or you fall ill, there is no paid leave if Uber's algorithm glitches or demand slows. 3 out of 5 gig workers report losing pay to technical issues on the app. Marx saw this transfer of risk to labor. In Capital, he wrote that under today's regime, any time available to the single worker is time to profit for capital in gig terms. For gig workers, life is uncertain, no union protection, no healthcare plan. As Epi notes, platforms classify drivers to deprive them of basic rights, no unemployment benefit. Your entrepreneurial independence thus hides the fact that you have far less security than a normal employee. Marx and Engels. A worker under capitalism lives only so long as she finds work, and when that work dries up, she has nothing. The gig driver struggles, juggling multiple apps, 70-hour weeks, baking in the sun, embody Marx's portrait of precarious, fragmented labor. Algorithmic control and alienation. Modern platforms are also masters of surveillance. Every move you make is tracked by GPS. This is Foucault's panopticon for the 21st century. The algorithm decides what job to offer you, when and where, and the only feedback you get is numeric. As one study explains, the Uber algorithm decides the value of a ride on the basis of the time and place and current traffic conditions, none of which you control. You can only accept or decline. All the while, riders rate you, and those ratings determine if you keep working. The effect is a radical form of alienation. You aren't just disconnected from the product, you never see the meal you deliver. You are constantly producing intangible data. Every pleasant word and smile is part of your product to be rated. Stanford researchers Rosenblatt and Stark put it bluntly: drivers in the Uber system perform emotional labor in exchange for ratings instead of tips. In other words, you are not only delivering passengers or pizzas, managing your mood, manner, even appearance is unpaid, but required to stay in the game. Marx talked of alienation as workers being estranged from their work's meaning. A Uber driver knows each ride is just a disposable unit on the app. The car, the route, even interactions are impersonal. The customer only sees their destination, not the worker's effort. In the Marxist sense, the gig worker is a piece in the machinery, rather than a whole person. The platform's algorithm severs any lasting bond between you and the fruits of your labor. Intellectual perspectives. Graeber, Piketty, Foucault. This gig critique resonates beyond Marx. Anthropologist David Graeber argued that modern capitalism generates many bullshit jobs, pointless or unsatisfying roles. Gig work can feel like that: endless deliveries or rides. Graeber also warned how consumer culture hides labor's reality. Here, the shiny Uber app mask. Economist Thomas Piketty would point out that while gig workers toil under these conditions, the true gains accrue to capital owners. Piketty's formula RG, returns on capital growth, implies that platforms backed by massive capital will pull ahead of wage growth. Indeed, Uber's multi-million-dollar valuations, drawn from driver labor, demonstrate how the owners become a new class of rentiers, capturing wealth the workers create. As one UC Berkeley report noted, most gig drivers would be better off if they were classified as employees. From a Foucauldian angle, gig platforms are an extreme form of biopolitical control. The phone app is the new factory whip, invisible yet omnipresent like Foucault's panopticon. The threat of deactivation and rating decay makes drivers self-regulate their behavior. You clock in on the app's terms, stay polite to every passenger, and hope the algorithm treats you well. In effect, the digital system has replaced many traditional labor controls, using data and surveillance as the new disciplinary power. Global scope. 1 gig many cities, these dynamics aren't just an American quirk. They're global. In the UK, around 2019, gig workers numbered in the millions, roughly 1 in 10 workers in Uberized roles. In the EU, platform labor was the fastest growing employment category, having doubled between 2010 and 2014 in Brazil. 5 million people now rely on app work as their main income, with many bike couriers, the bike boys, working 12-hour days. In cities from London to Lagos, Delhi to Durban, the pattern repeats. Companies promise flexibility, but gig workers face precarity, algorithmic oversight, and sharecrop profits with distant owners. No matter the country, the classical mechanics of Marx's critique apply. Labor produces value, capital takes it, and workers remain fragmented and insecure. Across continents, Uber, Deliveroo, Jumia, Ola, and all the clones show the same trends of surplus value extraction and capitalist control. Conclusion: who profits from your last mile? Ultimately, every last mile run you do enriches someone else. Passenger, perhaps, for convenience, but mostly the ride-hail or delivery company and its financiers. Marx foresaw that capitalism would warp the labor process to maximize surplus value. The gig economy is capitalism in flight. Mobile, app-mediated, but still ruthlessly extracting value from labor. From a Marxist perspective, the sharing economy is a myth. It simply modernizes age-old exploitation. Gig drivers and couriers are at the sharp end of this trend. Every trip made is a reminder that the worker, not the owner of the platform, is doing the real work, yet it is the owners who reap the majority of the reward. As one analysis bluntly puts it, these workers are consequently exposed to all the vicissitudes of competition in today's market. The question, who profits from your last mile run, has a clear Marxist answer under Uber's terms: capital profit. The company and its backers accrue capital and expansions. Drivers accrue debt and exhaustion. Recognizing this, many gig workers are beginning to organize, demand minimum wages, whether through unions, regulation, or a bigger transformation beyond the gig model.